Hi, guys. Today we're going to learn three ways to solve a proportion. Okay. Having different strategies helps you understand what proportions are better and helps you double check your work because you're always going to be checking for accuracy. That is standard for awesome math students. So I want you to think in terms of equivalent fractions. Okay. If we have 6/4 here, but when we're going to put it in terms with 3 on the top, we're going to ask ourselves, how did we get from 6 to 3? Okay. Or how did we get from 3 to 6? And we would say we multiplied by 2, right? So to get from 3 to 6, we multiplied by 2. Well, the multiplication property of equality says that whatever you do to the top part of a fraction, you have to do to the bottom part. So if we multiply the numerator times 2, 3 times 2 is 6. Something times 2 gives us 14. And what would that something be? Well, something times 2 is 14, or we could ask ourselves 14 divided by 2 is what? And if you're thinking 7, you are spot on. And we would do a quick check with mental math and say, does this make sense? Is 3/7 of a pizza about the same as 6/14 of a pizza? Okay, here we have a pizza divided into sevenths. 3/7 would look like that. Now, if we divided it into 14ths, it would mean each slice gets divided in half, just like that. Okay, so now instead of sevenths, we have 14ths. And if we had 6 of those shaded in, it would still look like the same area, right? So we would say 3/7 is equivalent to 6/14. And we know that because of multiplication. Whatever we do to the top, we do to the bottom. And we double checked it with mental math. And that is strategy number 2. So you're able to do that kind of quick check and say, this is a little less than half. This is a little less than half. That makes sense. And I know that sevenths, if they were each divided into two parts, would be 14ths. And each, if we had 3 slices, split each in half, we would have 2. We'd have 6, right? So we're thinking the pizza model, we're thinking mental math, and doing a quick check on our proportion. Now, our next strategy is using cross products. So if we had a over 6 equal to 15 over 2, you can say we multiplied these that are across from each other. So we have 2 times a. We can set it equal to this cross product. So 6 times 15. I know 2 times 15 is 30, so this would be 90. So 2 times a equals 90. Now, when we're multiplying two things together, we know 2 times something gives us 90. Another way to solve for this part, this a, that's our unknown quantity, is we could divide by 2. And if we divide 90 by 2, this is going to cancel out, and we're just going to find that a equals 45. So if we go back up here, instead of a, we would say 45 over 6 equals 15 over 2. And if we do a quick check with mental math, we might say, I know, if I multiply this by 3, I get to 6. And if I multiply 15 by 3, I get to 45. So that's your quick check. And yes, our proportion is right. So again, cross products, multiply these together, set it equal to the other cross product, solve for your one unknown by dividing by whatever else is on that side with your unknown. Whatever you do to this side, you absolutely have to do to this side. You can't just make the two vanish. You have to make your equal sign balance this side and this side. Okay? So those are our three strategies. So let's solve some of these. First, we're going to use multiplication to solve some of these. So let's go W over 4 equals 42 over 24. Okay? So we could say, oh, here we know that we're multiplying by 6 to get to that. So W times 6 is 42. And you'd say, what times 6 is 42? I know, 7 times 6 is 42. So then you'd put in your 7 there. And you do your quick double check and you say, yep, top is bigger than the bottom, top is bigger than the bottom. Here we multiplied by 6 to get from 4 to 24. We multiplied 7 times 6 to get to 42. That makes sense. So we have solved this proportion using multiplication. Here's another one. Let's go y over 9 equals 44 over 54. Okay. Oh, again, we're multiplying by 6. So 9 times 6 is 54. Y times 6 is 44. Well, I don't know anything times 6 that would be 44, but we can go the opposite direction. So in order to get from 54 to 9, we divide by 6. So if we take 44 and divide by 6, we will find out what y is. So let's do 44 divided by 6. Well, 7 times 6 is 42. So we are left with 2 over. Now, we could either, we're not going to do remainder 2. That's not what we do. We can think of it in terms of a fraction. So we have 2 left over and 6 make a whole. So we have 7 and 2, 6. In simplest form, that would be 7 and 1/3. So we would know back up here that y is equal to 7 and 1/3 in this proportion. Now we're going to solve a proportion using cross products. So we would say 4 times 36 equals C times 12, or 12C. Now I'm going to teach you a quick way that you can actually factor this just a tiny bit to figure out what C is, okay? So you may know that, man, 36 and 12. I know that 12 times 3 is 36. So you could actually rewrite this as 4 times 3 times 12 equals C times 12. Well, here we have 4 times 3 times 12 and C times 12. Can we figure out what C is? We absolutely could. Because if C was equal to 12, then we would have 12 times 12 equals C times 12. And we could say C is equal to 12. And that's where breaking down a number into factors, instead of writing 36, we wrote 3 times 12, which is 36. Then we were able to use the associative property of multiplication to solve for our unknown. Okay? Now, if you say, oh my goodness, that is way too complicated, I'm going to show you another way that you could actually solve this, okay? So we have 4 times 36. We want to get C all by itself. So instead of multiplying by C, we're going to instead of multiplying by 12, we're going to divide by 12. Whatever we do on that side, we're going to do on this side, okay? So this is going to cancel out because 12 times 12, 12 divided by 12 is 1. Now, over here, we know 36 divided by 12 is just 3, right? So we could say 4 times 3, and we just simplified this part, 36 divided by 12, equals C. So we would say 12 equals C, or C equals 12. So again, let's use cross products to solve this proportion. So we'd say 8 times 15 equals 6m, okay? Now we want to get m all by itself, so we're going to divide by 6 on both sides. All right, so we have m, and over here, let's multiply this out first. 8 times 10 would be 80, plus another 40, 120 divided by 6, 120 divided by 6 would be 20 is equal to m. Okay. So then we're going to put it back in here and see if that makes sense. So in our original proportion, if we put 20 in there, we would say, yep, that would make sense. Looks good. Do a quick check with mental math.